Happy Halloween and welcome to the Cretaceous Campcast. I'm Camp Counselor Dave, and this is a podcast all about Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Chaos Theory. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you might be incredibly confused about what just happened. I'm recording this on Halloween, and I am dressed as Camp Counselor Dave from Season 1 of Camp Cretaceous. Just a little something fun I wanted to do. And today on this episode, probably going to be a quick one. Not a lot to talk about, but what I wanted to do for Halloween is to look back and revisit one of my favorite episodes of the entire series, and one I kind of associate with Halloween and being spooky, and that is Season 3, Episode 5, Eye of the Storm. And I may bounce around a little bit. I did just rewatch it. And wrote down a couple of notes about it. So I don't want to try to just go in order and ramble off everything that happened in the episode, but there are some points I want to talk about with this episode and why it kind of reminds me of like a spooky movie kind of vibe with this episode. And it starts with the very opening of the episode, and it starts with we're seeing things through the Scorpius' perspective. So we have that like grayscale black and white, almost night vision looking vision where it's kind of blurred and obscured a little bit, and then it climbs a tree real quick and you can see the thermal scan of the Gallimimus and it starts hunting it. And I think that's a really cool, creepy kind of way, almost Predator-like in sort of a way to reach back to something else. And it just starts the episode off on such a cool, spooky, kind of creepy note. And right after that, you know, we get to the lab where we saw Brooklyn and Sammy, the previous episode, discover that E750 broke out, and they learned all about it by watching Woo's videos and stuff like that. So it's kind of the our main characters of the movie are discovering something shocking and something's not quite right, sort of thing. And then on the other side of it, you have the happy group of people because like, hey, we fixed the boat and we're going to be going home and everything is fine and we're going to start packing up, sort of thing. So it's kind of giving off vibes of like a horror movie where you've got the perspective of the bad guy, the killer or whatever, then like the people running into figuring out what's going on, and then the other people that are oblivious and don't know what's going on until it's too late, kind of thing. So the whole episode, you know, kind of gives off those kind of vibes. And just talking a little bit about the characters before we get back to the Scorpius, there's a lot of interesting things that I picked up rewatching it, and then, you know, after seeing the entire series and after seeing Chaos Theory up to what we've seen so far, you kind of get a little bit of a different perspective on some of the things that are kind of going on when you watch this episode. And one of the things that like really got to me is when they were now I don't remember, even though I literally just watched it. It's when they went and tracked down Ben. They couldn't find Ben. Ben was sent to get toilet paper or whatever it was, and then he disappeared and they couldn't find him, and he was out, you know, hanging out with Bumpy and the other group of Ankylosaurus. And when they were talking to him, he said, his exact words were, "After we go home, it's not like any of us will ever see each other again." And in that moment, watching it for the first time, you're probably thinking like, yeah, you're right. You're a bunch of kids. You've been here, what, a couple of weeks, a couple of months. We'll find out later in the season that they were there for 6 months. We don't know that at this time. But yeah, they live all over the country. So yeah, you're probably not going to talk to each other, or you can exchange phone numbers or emails, but like, are you really going to keep in touch? But after watching everything they go through and then seeing them grow as people and their relationships in different ways, like, he couldn't be more wrong in saying that, you know? It's it's kind of interesting to go back and watching it now. We're like, yeah, okay, Ben, you're just being over dramatic. But no, at the time, like I would have bought into that, yeah, you're right. We're probably all never going to talk to each other again, especially somebody like Ben. He was always different and out there, not really included in things. Especially when he first got there, in season 1, when he was like really different from everybody else. And, it's not unreasonable for him to think that. And then it extends later on to Yaz and Sammy. And this kind of goes into my thoughts on the next episode, which is The Longest Run, which we're not going to talk about here, but that's also one of my favorite episodes, and it's definitely got a spooky vibe to it, with all the rain and the storm and Yaz being chased by the Scorpius and, race against the clock sort of thing. But after Yaz heard Ben say that, later when she's talking to Sammy, and Sammy's like all happy and giddy and having a good time, and Yaz, she says to Sammy, "This friendship has an expiration date, and we're not best friends. We never were." And that hit Sammy really hard. And I think I'm trying to remember first time going back and watching it, it's like, oh, that was cold. Maybe she still has some resentment about what happened in season 1, but looking back at it now and then knowing where those two kind of progress and what happens, I think it's more she didn't want to get herself too emotionally attached. And in the next episode is where I always said the like light bulb kind of went off for her about like, oh, I have feelings for her. Originally, I thought it was, I felt bad about the things I said previously about, not being best friends sort of thing. But I think this is kind of the start of her acknowledging she has feelings, and before those feelings get any deeper, that she just wants to basically cut it off because it's going to hurt too much that they're almost on their way home. The boat was fixed. They're just waiting for it to dry or seal or whatever it was from patching it up. And, she realizes like, hey, I'm starting to have feelings for this person and I may never see her again. So she's just, cutting it off. And that's kind of on brand for season 1 Yaz, because she was kind of a loner and wanted to stay by herself and everything. So she probably felt very vulnerable and just was in a very uncomfortable place for herself. And she's such a great character to see grow and change and develop over time. And even after she went through all of the torment and the PTSD from dealing with dinosaurs and everything, she's such a strong individual, and she really grew. And, embracing and accepting what she felt for Sammy when it got around to season 5, and then what we see in Chaos Theory. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned in season 3. We'll have to see where that goes. But, I really thought that conversation between the two was really telling to me. At least that's my interpretation of it. And it's really different watching some of these episodes now after seeing where they've gone, not just in this show, but also in Chaos Theory. So it's interesting, that one line that Ben says about never seeing each other again kind of gets the wheels in motion for Yaz and Sammy, just in my opinion, after rewatching this episode. So it's kind of interesting to think about. Not really Halloween or spooky-ish, but it's an observation of this episode after just rewatching it that I definitely wanted to bring up and talk about, because if you haven't gone back and watched the Camp Cretaceous seasons, I do recommend it. Just pick an episode here or there. You don't even have to watch them in order. I haven't been rewatching in order. I'm just kind of picking an episode, or sometimes it'll be on the TV. My daughter will put it on. She's not sucked into Camp Cretaceous at 3 years old like my son was, but she every now and then wants to put the dinosaur show on. So I haven't brainwashed her yet, but I'm working on it. But it's like I was just saying, it's interesting to pick up on things in the earlier seasons of the show that I've always, I've been really praising the writers for Chaos Theory for everything they've done and how cohesive things have been, and how much thought and effort went into what they're doing in this show. But going back and watching Camp Cretaceous now, the same can be said, that even though when season 3 was written and recorded, I don't think they knew what was going to happen in season 5, but they planted the seed, or maybe they did have an idea, they just didn't know how they were going to get there, or at one point they were going to get there. But it was really well done, and I'm appreciating it more now, knowing what comes after. That's, I think I'm going to go back and start all over and watch everything once Chaos Theory is over. Let's go and watch all 9 seasons of the show, and I think I'll have a new appreciation of it and certain episodes and certain scenes for sure. So let's get back to the Scorpius and the spookiness on this special Halloween episode of the Campcast. And like I said, we open with the Scorpius, and that scene is just really cool. The next time we get to the Scorpius is when Darius is off on his own. He's trying to find Gallimimus, that, it was his dad's favorite dinosaur. So he wanted, as his own personal mission, to go find a Gallimimus. He told Kenji it was to write notes, in his field guide, but we know it was for his dad. And then he sees a bunch of them, and then he's feeding one of them. And then, they get really spooked out about something, and Darius walks over and he sees quills in a tree, and he looks up and a corpse just drops out of the tree, and that is very spooky. It is perfectly fitting for Halloween. Again, part of the reason I picked this episode for today and to talk about. And it was really cool. We still haven't seen in full what the Scorpius looks like. And then, when we go back and the storm is starting to pick up, and after Sammy and Brooklyn come back and they tell them about what they saw, and they're like, we've got to get out of here. Like, we absolutely need to leave right now. You thought the Indominus was bad. Well, there's something even worse running free on the island right now. And of course, when Yaz went to check the boat, the water's too choppy because of the storm rolling in, and they can't go out. So they fortify the fence and they hook up a car battery to it. Good thinking, Kenji. And, we're just kind of waiting it out. And then we get the first view of the Scorpius. I think it's the first time we really see it in this season. And we see it jump, and it kills a Parasaurolophus. And sorry, I'm trying to think of what draws it to him. Oh, it sees the sparks on the fence because it's attracted to light and heat, and the rain hitting the fence, makes it spark, and the Scorpius sees it, so it draws its attention and it heads over there. And then that's when we get that iconic shot of it screaming in the rain with the lightning behind it, and it is probably my favorite shot of the entire series. It is just so cool. I'm using it as the thumbnail for this YouTube video. I can't say enough about it. And then that's when we just see that thing go crazy. It is smashing into the fence. It doesn't care that it's getting shocked. And, it's the kids think they're safe. And then Darius turns around and it's climbing up the tree behind them, and it's jumping down. And of course, because they're our main characters and they're kids, they're not it's super danger, but it's tense. And, we see at the very end of the episode, right before the end, Sammy gets hit by the tail. I'm mixing the words tail and Sammy together there. Sammy gets hit by the tail and knocked over. We don't really think anything of it. We're just like, oh, okay, she got hit with the tail. But at the end, they're all just looking at her, and she's got the quills stuck in her, and she thinks she's okay. And then, as we know, it's venomous, and she passes out. And then, that's basically the end of it. It leaves them. It's distracted by the fire on the tree from the lightning at one point, but it leaves them when it hears a scream off in the distance, and it just runs away. We have no idea what that was, but we find out later on, hey, there's another Scorpius, which was a totally awesome moment in the season. Just a number of the reasons why season 3 is my favorite season of Camp Cretaceous, and it's just so good. But then, we end right there with Sammy being impaled. She's not really impaled. She's got quills in her. But it then picks up with The Longest Run, which is, like I said, another one of my favorite episodes. And it's good stuff. And yeah, so that's the episode. I really enjoyed the spooky aspects of it. Perfect for Halloween. Just the Scorpius stuff alone, like I mentioned, that the opening of it where we're seeing things through its perspective. Anytime we see things through the perspective of the Scorpius, I think it's really, really cool and really creepy because of the way its vision works. And then, of course, the whole scene when it runs into the treehouse area and it first detects the kids, and that I can't even make that body pose that it does when it's screaming in the lightning. That is just so cool, and it's so freaky, and it's just full of tension and suspense while it's there, and it's, trying to get at the kids and everything. And yeah, and I picked up on some cool stuff that I didn't notice the first time watching it, with the what Ben says, and then everything that comes after related to that. And it's not that I didn't notice it, it's that I didn't know what was coming after. And now that I know what comes after, it's an interesting bit of dialogue. So that's about all I have to talk about. Like I said, wasn't going to be very long. I just wanted to rewatch that episode and talk about it just for a few minutes for you all on Halloween. So what else we got going on at the Campcast? If you're following us on social media, we have the Chaotic Countdown currently going on. We're watching one episode a day of Chaos Theory every day in order, leading up to November 20th when season 4 premieres on Netflix. On the topic of season 4, I'm going to be upfront and just say I will not be making any more season 4 content. I will not be doing any reviews or breakdowns of anything that might come out. If anything is shared on social media, it is most likely Kia just reposting something from the official social media accounts or anything like that. But I'm not going to be doing anything season 4 related until the season comes out, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm also kicking around the idea of another contest in celebration of season 4 and the series wrapping up. So stay tuned to the socials for that. If I'm going to do it, I'm probably going to announce it sometime this week. So keep your eyes open on that, and it'll be a fun one. I'm thinking of a double giveaway for this contest. We'll see. I'm going to work some stuff out. But like I said, if I do the contest, it will be this week. And yeah, that about wraps things up. I've got a couple interviews coming up real soon. They're probably not going to be out until after season 4. I may not even get to talk to people until after season 4. I'm not sure, but we'll see how that goes, and I'll keep you all informed on the interview front. But anyone that did anything cool on Halloween, if you have kids that took them trick-or-treating, if you went trick-or-treating, I hope everybody had a great Halloween, and I'll be back again soon. So everyone, thank you so much for watching or listening. Follow at JP_Campcast on Twitter, at Cretaceous Campcast on other social media. I am at Cretaceous_Dave, and I want everybody to stay safe, stay Jurassic, and have yourselves a good one. So long.